Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today we're diving into Robert Greene's controversial yet captivating book, The 48 Laws of Power. This book isn't your typical self-help guide. It's a deep exploration of the dynamics of power, drawing on 3,000 years of history and the wisdom of strategists, statesmen, and seducers alike. It's a look at power not as a force for good or evil, but as a social game, a kind of civilized warfare. The book's core idea is that power is a social game, always present in human interactions, whether we acknowledge it or not. Greene argues that trying to ignore the game only makes you more vulnerable and unhappy. He suggests that by understanding the laws of power, you become a more effective navigator of life in all its facets, from your career to your personal relationships. This book draws inspiration from the power dynamics of the old aristocratic court, where everything was a game of appearances and indirect maneuvering. Let's jump into the 48 laws themselves. Law 1 is never outshine the master. The book gives the example of Nicolas Fouquet, Louis XIV's finance minister, whose lavish party, meant to honor the king, inadvertently triggered his downfall because it overshadowed the king's own magnificence. The message here is that while showing your talents is important, making your superiors feel insecure is a fatal mistake. Instead, make them look better than they are. The book cites Galileo as an example of doing this right. He dedicated his discovery of Jupiter's moons to the Medici family, aligning them with cosmic forces and their own symbol of power, Jupiter, earning their favor and a lifetime appointment. Law 2 advises us to never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. The tragic story of Michael III of Byzantium, betrayed and murdered by his best friend and appointed advisor Basilius, illustrates this. Friends are easily prone to envy, Greene argues, and a former enemy with more to prove can be surprisingly loyal. He then illustrates how Emperor Sung of China cleverly made his potential enemies into allies. Conceal your intentions is Law 3. The book uses the example of the courtesan Ninon de L'Enclos, who schooled a young marquis in the art of seduction through indirect tactics. Ninon's plan backfired, however, when the marquis revealed his intentions too soon. The book also cites Otto von Bismarck's deceptive support of peace in 1850, a move that ultimately elevated him to the position he needed to wage war later. Law 4 cautions us to always say less than necessary. Coriolanus, the Roman general, talked his way out of power. His words revealed his arrogance and other unsavory qualities, shattering his image. In contrast, Louis XIV's carefully cultivated silence, interspersed with cryptic remarks, made him seem all the more powerful. Law 5 emphasizes the critical importance of reputation. So much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. Zhuge Liang, the sleeping dragon of Chinese history, intimidated his enemies through his reputation for cleverness, as the story of his encounter with Sima Yi demonstrates. The book also describes how P.T. Barnum, in his early career, damaged his rival's reputation to acquire the American Museum. Law 6. Court attention at all cost. This isn't about being a loudmouth, the book clarifies, but about strategically using spectacle and creating a memorable image. P.T. Barnum is again cited as an example, with his many publicity stunts from the Brick Man to the Fiji Mermaid. The book also highlights the importance of cultivating an air of mystery, citing the example of Mata Hari, whose fabricated exoticism made her a star. Law 7 advises us to get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Nikola Tesla's tragic story illustrates how neglecting this law can lead to being exploited. Tesla's brilliance was obscured and stolen because he failed to secure credit for his inventions. The book contrasts his fate with the more pragmatic approach of Thomas Edison, who made his name by hiring others and strategically taking credit for their work. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Talleyrand's role in Napoleon's escape from Elba serves as a compelling example of this law. Talleyrand lured Napoleon into what seemed a golden opportunity, but which was really a trap. The book also uses the example of the Japanese victory over the Russians in the War of 1905. Law 9 emphasizes that actions speak louder than words. Win through your actions, never through argument. The Roman general Mucianus made the mistake of arguing with an engineer, whose execution illustrates this law's transgression. In contrast, Michelangelo changed Soderini's perspective visually rather than verbally, saving a masterpiece and pleasing his patron. Law 10 cautions. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. The tale of Lola Montez, whose toxic personality brought misfortune to her lovers, demonstrates this. It emphasizes choosing your associations carefully, seeking out the positive, rather than being drawn in by the infector's allure. Law 11 stresses the need to learn to keep people dependent on you. The Count of Carmagnola's fate illustrates the danger of being replaceable. The book then recounts Bismarck's shrewd maneuver in making himself indispensable to two Prussian kings. Law 12 advises the strategic use of honesty and generosity. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Count Lustig's confidence trick on Al Capone exemplifies this, as does Bismarck's manipulation of the Austrian negotiator, Count Blome. The law also emphasizes the effectiveness of a timely gift, the Trojan horse. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. Stefano di Poggio's unfortunate encounter with Castruccio Castracani demonstrates this. In contrast, the Corsarian's successful appeal to Athenian self-interest illustrates the law's observance. Law 14 stresses the importance of intelligence gathering. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Joseph Duveen spied on his potential clients to learn their tastes and habits, a tactic that brought him immense success. The law also describes Talleyrand's mastery of conversational probing and the use of indirect questioning. Crush your enemy. Totally is the brutal message of Law 15. The rivalry between Shang Yu and Liu Pang exemplifies the dangers of showing mercy. The book contrasts Shang Yu's leniency with Liu Pang's ruthlessness, which earned him the throne. Empress Wu's equally ruthless elimination of rivals also demonstrates the law's observance. Law 16 advises us to strategically use absence. Use absence to increase respect and honor. The Tale of the Troubadour. Guillaume de Ballon illustrates how absence can inflame love, while the story of Diocles demonstrates its use in acquiring power. Law 17 suggests that keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Bobby Fischer used this tactic to unsettle Boris Spassky in their famous chess match. The book emphasizes disrupting patterns and keeping people off balance to maintain the initiative. Law 18 warns against isolation. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huangdi, isolated himself within his palace and lost control, while Louis XIV, holding court at Versailles, maintained a central position and thrived. Law 19 stresses knowing your opponent. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. The book categorizes 5 difficult personality types: the arrogant and proud man, the hopelessly insecure man, Mr. Suspicion, the serpent with a long memory, and the plain, unassuming, and often unintelligent man. It illustrates how misjudging these types can have disastrous consequences. Law 20 advises, do not commit to anyone. Queen Elizabeth I maintained her power by refusing to commit to any single suitor. The book contrasts her strategy with the woes of Mary, Queen of Scots, whose marriage sparked turmoil. The law also discusses how Alcibiades and Kissinger played multiple sides to their advantage. Law 21 encourages the use of deception. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. The story of the diamond mine swindle perpetrated by Arnold and Slack on Asbury Harpending illustrates this law perfectly. Law 22 suggests that use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. The Melians' refusal to surrender to Athens had disastrous consequences, while Brecht's feigned cooperation with the House Un-American Activities Committee allowed him to escape unscathed. Law 23 emphasizes focusing your energies. Concentrate your forces. The Kingdom of Wu's ill-fated war illustrates the dangers of spreading yourself thin. The book contrasts this with the Rothschild family's strategy of focusing their efforts and resources. Play the perfect courtier is the message of Law 24. The book lays out the basic laws of court politics, using various historical anecdotes to illustrate the dos and don'ts of navigating the social realm of power. Law 25 encourages self-invention. Recreate yourself. Julius Caesar and George Sand are offered as prime examples of those who forged new identities to gain power and attention. Law 26. Keep your hands clean. This law discusses the use of scapegoats and cat's paws, drawing on examples such as Cao Cao's sacrifice of the chief of commissariat and Cesare Borgia's use of Ramiro de Orco. Law 27 advises, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. The book outlines 5 steps for creating a cult, exemplified by the stories of Francesco Borri and Franz Mesmer. Enter action with boldness is Law 28. Count Victor Lustig's audacious sale of the Eiffel Tower exemplifies this. The book also examines Ivan the Terrible's bold move in consolidating his power. Law 29 emphasizes long-term planning. Plan all the way to the end. Vasco de Balboa's failure to do so is contrasted with Bismarck's careful orchestration of events, which led to the creation of the German Empire. Law 30 stresses the importance of appearances. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. The Japanese tea ceremony and Harry Houdini's escape artistry serve as prime examples of disguising effort and making the difficult look easy. Law 31 advises, control the options, get others to play with the cards you deal. This law is exemplified by Yvonne the Terrible's feigned abdication, Ninon de l'Enclose's control of her suitors, and J.P. Morgan's pearl pin negotiation. Law 32, play to people's fantasies. Bragadino's success in Venice, built on the fantasy of alchemy, illustrates this. The law discusses several common fantasies, from the allure of instant transformation to the desire for the exotic. Law 33 advises, discover each man's thumbscrew. This law details methods for finding a person's weakness, whether an insecurity, a hidden pleasure, or an uncontrollable emotion. Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Columbus's self-assured approach to the Spanish court contrasts with Louis Philippe's disastrous attempt to downplay his royal status. Law 35 encourages mastering the art of timing. Master the art of timing. Joseph Fouché's ability to adapt to the changing political landscape of revolutionary France illustrates this, as do examples of forcing time and knowing when to finish. Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. Pancho Villa benefited from Woodrow Wilson's overreaction to his raid, while Henry VIII increased his power by ignoring the Pope. Law 37 advises, create compelling spectacles. The Moon Doctor of Berlin and Diane de Poitiers, who cultivated the image of the goddess Diana, exemplify the power of imagery and symbolism. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. Pausanias's downfall and Campanella's strategic conformity contrastingly illustrate the dangers of nonconformity and the power of blending in. Law 39 suggests to stir up waters to catch fish. Napoleon's outburst against Talleyrand shows how anger is counterproductive, while Haile Selassie strategically provoked his rival, Ras Gugsa, into a fatal rebellion. Law 40 warns against greed, despise the free lunch. Gonzalo Pizarro's disastrous search for El Dorado and the Duchess of Marlborough's penny-pinching at Blenheim illustrate the perils of greed and the power of strategic generosity. Aretino and the Rothschilds used lavish spending to their advantage. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes is the crucial message of Law 41. Louis XV squandered his inheritance from Louis XIV, while Alexander the Great carved his own path to glory by outdoing his father, Philip. Law 42 advises to strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. The Athenians' use of ostracism and Boniface VIII's isolation of Dante demonstrate this. Law 43 stresses the importance of seduction, work on the hearts and minds of others. Zhuge Liang won over his enemies through kindness, while Marie Antoinette's failure to connect with her subjects led to her downfall. Law 44 encourages the use of mirroring. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. This law explores the different types of mirroring, including the neutralizing effect, the narcissus effect, the moral effect, and the hallucinatory effect. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once is the central message of Law 45. Cromwell's downfall and Mao's strategic use of tradition illustrate this law. Law 46 warns against seeming too perfect. Never appear too perfect. Joe Orton's murder, motivated by his lover's envy, and Cosimo de' Medici's strategic downplaying of his power, exemplify this law. Law 47 advises, do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Cyrus the Great's overreach and Madame de Pompadour's strategic restraint illustrate this law. The final law, Law 48, suggests to assume formlessness. Sparta's rigid system led to its downfall, while the adaptability of the Chinese communists under Mao brought them victory. The law emphasizes the power of being fluid and unpredictable, like water. The 48 Laws of Power offers a unique perspective on the dynamics of power. Its main takeaway is that power is a game best played with strategy, awareness, and a healthy dose of indirection. Some key heuristics to remember are: never outshine the master, make yourself indispensable, conceal your intentions, control the narrative, and be adaptable like water. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.